Okay, Chapter 16, Educational Technology. So technology that is used in general education for all students. So there's more and more technology that we have access to, such as interactive whiteboards, smart boards. There's software programs where students can go along at their own pace, at their own level. There's integrated learning systems. There's reading and math programs that are all delivered through technology. Now, assistive technology are typically, and it's kind of funny because some assistive technology is not that technically advanced, but still falls in this category. But it's technology that's used to help students who lack specific skills or abilities to engage in activities that otherwise they could not do or could not do as well, or to fully participate. So IDEA defines AT as any item, piece of equipment, product, system, whether acquired commercially, off the shelf, modified, or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of a child with a disability, excluding a medical device that is surgically implanted or the replacement of such a device. So sometimes the reason it might not be that technology advanced, sometimes students will have PECs or pictures on an iPad, and sometimes students might just even have pictures that they can hold up or they can point to that are pictures that have been laminated. So sometimes it is very high tech, and sometimes it's, a 3-ring binder with laminated pictures. So the word technology there might be a little bit of a misnomer. So some assistive technology that might help with reading, text-to-speech software, being able to highlight certain key words, providing picture cues, ebooks, and e-texts. There are some great programs out there now where you can, for example, get things translated. So you can have the English word, and then you press on it and it'll show you the Spanish word, or it'll say it to you, or you can also press on it and it'll give you the definition of that word. There's lots that we can do to kind of assist with reading with our assistive technology. Assistive technology for writing and spelling, obviously personal computers, word processing, handheld devices, word prediction software. So there's software that can help predict what will come next. There's speech to text, where you can say it and then the computer will type it out for you. So, and those types of things, the advantage of using technology versus having somebody that you dictate to is, of course, that students can be more independent if they're using technology than if they're reliant on a person to do that task for them. And in the long run, that gives them more independence, because if I have to wait until somebody's available to dictate something to them, that's obviously going to take, there'll be times that maybe I've got a great idea in my head and I can't get it down. Versus if I can go grab an iPad or a phone or a tablet and do it right away, that might be more advantageous to students. So for math, obviously we've got calculators, comprehension and language assistance, again, going back to defining words, being able to, in math, sometimes it's being able to have virtual manipulatives. Maybe there are certain manipulatives that you might not have present, but there are more and more programs where maybe I don't have the counting blocks, but the counting blocks are up there, or maybe it'll help me understand logarithms if I can have a program that'll graph them 10 different ways for me, and I get to control them and see how they move and what changes, those types of things. So augmentative and alternative communication devices, communication boards, eye gaze boards. I've worked with a student earlier this year who has cerebral palsy, and so her arms move, but she doesn't have control over her arms, but she does have control over her eyes, and so she's got this computer screen right in front of her, and on there are basically the same pictures, but it can, if she puts her eye gaze on a picture and keeps it there, then it activates that picture, and a voice will then say whatever that picture says. So, for example, they've been pre-programmed. So there's one that would say, "Hi, my name is Molly," and then all of her teachers' names were programmed in there, and those types of things, as well as things like yes and no, left and right, and they're categorized by the way that these communication boards and different things are done. Is they'll have categories, for example, food, and then once you hit food, then it might be breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then underneath there. So depending on how many different icons a student has, um, they start with these really broad categories, and then they can go down, and then they can have some really specific words that they have access to. And then they can say, "I would like pancakes for breakfast," using their communication boards or their boards. Voice output devices, like I said, can be integrated with eye gaze boards or communication boards, where they press the picture or they look at the picture and then it can say what it is. Devices with speech synthesis for typing. So there's a lot of things that we have access to now. They can be quite expensive. The good news is that there's some separate money for assistive technology. It doesn't come out of the same area. So students should have access to the assistive technology that they really need. Now, here's what's even better, is that personal support technologies, PDAs, palm top computers, iPods, iPads, it's amazing what you can do with an iPad nowadays. And there are so many apps that are available that you used to have to buy specialty devices, and now you can do those right on there. Again, the reason that it can be really great to teach students how to use iPads or iPods for communication are the mobility of those. Students can take them everywhere they go. They're pretty universal. People are used to seeing them. So they're much more accepted in the world, and it really kind of breaks down that barrier between the student and the person. And there's just an amazing number of apps available. You could spend an entire day looking up the cool apps that can help students. Assistive technology for daily living, so mobility. Of course, the most common one is wheelchairs. There's also standing structures to help students stand. There's alternative seats to help students sit in ways that are more comfortable for them or support them better. Adaptive eating utensils, adaptive scissors. There's lots of different things that can help students have more access if they're just changed in a little way. Principles and practices effectively using educational technology. Teaching students to use technology. So the hard part about technology that we all know, right, is that there's kind of this stage where we have to get used to it and ramp ourselves up to using it. And so this is often where things can become difficult, because first the teacher needs to know how to use the technology and use it well, because technology that we don't know how to use causes us more time than less time. And so the teacher needs to know how to use it well, so then you can teach the student how to use it. And so, you've got your initial instruction, you'll model how to use it, your prompt. Technology does not replace instruction. And in fact, again, you'll have to add instruction on how to use the technology. So there is kind of this initial startup cost to technology, but then once you get going, then you can reap those benefits for long periods of time. And again, this might be something that you really have to self-advocate for. If you have a student with significant needs in your classroom, you may need to go to your principal and say, "I need to be sent to a workshop on this," or "I need release time so I can talk to the augmentative communication specialist that our district has. I need time to learn how to use these communication devices with my students." So advocate for yourself, and because there will be kind of a learning curve for you. So an IEP team must evaluate for assistive technology. There's a box right on there whether students need assistive technology. Teaching students to use assistive technology requires collaboration. Again, a lot of places have access to an augmentative communication expert, and so you'll want to make sure you get to know them. Assistive technology services. First, you need to evaluate the needs of the student. So what are their needs? You have to get the device, implement the use of the device, which again is, it's just so sad because oftentimes, we'll spend tons of money on a device and then it never gets fully implemented. And there can be these really little things that are the barriers, like the battery keeps dying too soon or something like that. And then it becomes too clunky and people stop using it. And it's like, no, let's fix the battery problem. Let's not throw the whole thing out. So it can be a little harder to implement than sometimes we might like. And then providing training and assistance to the teacher, to the instructional assistant, to the other students. That's another big one because if a student's using a communication device, we need to teach the other students how to interact with that student with the communication device. So universal design for learning, provide multiple means of representation. So provide options for perception. So we've talked about having verbals and visuals paired. Provide options for language, math, and symbols. Again, describe them and post them. Provide multiple means of action and expression. Provide options for physical action. Provide options for expression and communication. Provide options for executive functioning. So you want to think about a lot of these things when you're planning and build them into your planning so that students will have multiple ways of both getting the information and communicating the information back to you. Talking about universal design a little bit more, provide multiple means of engagement, provide options for recurring interests and peaking interests, provide options for sustaining effort and persistence, and provide options for self-regulation. So here's the hard part. There's a lot out there, and so sometimes you have to research what's out there and what's available. Work with technology and assistive technology specialists and other team members. Focus on the student's need and monitor the student's progress. One of my friends who's into technology told me this, and I think he's right. He said, if you ever think there should be, or this program should be able to, or there should be a device that can, there probably is. So if you have a student and you keep thinking, man, if they could only have something that would fill in the blank, voice those opinions because there probably is something that can do that, and it just needs to be, just need to figure that out. But it's sometimes kind of amazing to me, and it's also kind of heartbreaking because teachers will come to IEP meetings and say, all year I've wished that the student could X, Y, or Z, and there's something, and then it turns out that it's a relatively easy fix, and that could have given that student access all year. So if you ever have yourself and you ever find yourself thinking, I really wish the student could have access to whatever it is, or this really is not working, whatever it is, then voice that, call their case manager, let other people know, because sometimes it's not that difficult of a fix. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it really isn't. And the sooner you can do that, obviously, the better. New personal technology devices are rapidly increasing. The numbers of persons who use technology are also increasing. Do you believe that technology is reducing or eliminating the amount of personal interaction between students and teachers? Why or why not? The purpose of assistive technology is to help students who lack specific skills or abilities engage in activities they otherwise could not do. Do you believe assistive technology gives students with disabilities an unfair advantage over students without disabilities? What type of assistive technology do you believe is most effective for students with disabilities? Think about students you have known who have struggled with reading or math. What types of problems did they have? If you could design an instructional software program that could help them, what would it do? How would it help them? Okay, thank you.